It's too long.
You
How many minutes
for short films?
How many minutes too long is it, Jim?
This 12-minute movie is 11 minutes too long.
No, Enter the Dragon is like 85 minutes or 90 minutes or something.
Yeah, something like that.
95.
The perfect length for it is Fistful of Yen.
It's 20 minutes in the middle.
20 minutes.
We'll get
20
to that.
minutes in the middle
We'll
of
talk
something
about
else.
how that condensed this, but I'll show
Now
you
the acting's better.
the scene behind Tad is actually that whole sequence was not in what I saw this time.
Nope.
I watched it on I watched it. Well, who had it? I think was it Criterion?
Criterion's got the longer,
and they got the
one.
theatrical one. Whatever. When I watched didn't have all that guy with a really bad dubbing voice. The
whole movie is dubbed.
Well, no, it comes and goes.
Entire movie is 80 yard.
Yeah, but Bruce Lee did his own dubbing, and he did stuff in English, and all the leads did their own voices, but they did a thing that the Sergio Leone thing, where everyone kind of spoke their own language. But the guy who played Han did not speak very good English at all, so he was fully dubbed. But that's why they really kind of worked with it a bit. I think that this was a template for everything that came afterwards. In terms of like having a fast-paced martial arts or any kind of film like that. It's a kind of a James Bond light boiled down a bit.
No.
Absolutely, it's like a Bond movie.
Yeah, it's boiled down.
And every Wu-Tang Clan song.
Pretty much, yeah.
Period.
Exactly.
And video games and music videos and like there's this thing as bonkers as it is.
It's one of the most influential movies ever.
It's
like
weird.
Top to bottom.
It's bizarre how influential it is because it was a throwaway really when they made it.
It made so much money though. It made so much money.
Profitable films of the 70s, if not all time.
Yeah. Tad, since I'm guessing you've already completely digested the IMDb, you can tell us, was this bought or was this made?
I'm pretty sure this was
made. This done and bought by Warner Brothers, or did Warner Brothers?
No, I think this was made by Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure this was. They just threw like $300,000 at somebody and was like, "Go make a movie with Bruce Lee."
Yeah, and there was actually a co-production.
Yeah,
it was Warner Brothers raised $1.5 million, and the rest was raised by Run Run Shaw, and those guys in Hong Kong. So it was a Hong Kong American co-production.
Yeah.
So they kind of went 50-50 on it, and just because Warner wanted in because they wanted the domestic rights and they saw how well his movies were doing.
Go make a 90-minute commercial for Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
And we will pay you $1.5 million to do that.
And base it on any
film from the 70s.
Yeah, no, based on any James Bond movie, basically. And it's kind of interesting because it also kind of fit into the whole question about Hong Kong and China back in the 70s. It was still a crown colony, and so there was that weird tension going on with Braithwaite and him. It was really odd. It was just like, it's a little more stark this time. The way I saw it this time,
it's more stark in like The Killer and
right.
Is it?
Yeah, those Hard Boiled. Those movies that happened right before the switchover. But but this one definitely has the like British people are bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which also British people are bad.
But if you ask him now, we said, would you want to be Hong Kong? Asked that way, run by China or run by Great Britain? They'd probably all say Great Britain. Those guys are getting taken on the chin lately, man. These universities are under siege. This place is getting fucked up, man. It's just not what it used to be.
But you know what the Chinese aren't doing? They're not just shooting everyone, which is what the British did anytime there was people who were mad at them.
Yeah, I know it was a place they made it. Back when this film was made, Hong Kong was one of the biggest economic engines in the Far East, if not the world. It still is. It still is, but back then it was nonstop. It was just huge. They had a bigger economy than the People's Republic of China back then. And so
they were also fronts for the People's Republic of China.
That's true.
There's a lot of stuff that said made
that's true.
in Hong Kong that was actually made in like Guangzhou and shipped to Hong Kong.
Got shipped out of Hong Kong
or Shenzhen or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I love the way that they, this the kind of the beginning of the film kind of captured the look of the place. It was kind of a half ghetto, the whole place. It was all kind of fucked up.
I was in Hong Kong in 1980, and it pretty much still looked like that. I mean, I remember the junks. You just see these people out of these rickety boats going from junk to junk.
Oh yeah. It was also nice that what was it, Williams, I guess the name of the character. You just kind of comment on that. It's like the ghettos the same everywhere. They all stink. It's like right on, man. He fighting common cause with that. That was nice.
But the junk ships, when you even see one under construction in the opening scene as they're going through the harbor.
Right.
And those are impressive boats.
Yeah, they are.
Well, yeah, they've been making them for 2000.
I know, on the same pattern.
Clearly, they know what they're doing.
They made it to like American Samoa with that shit. So like,
well, the only person here who hasn't seen it before is John. I want to get your impression.
I had in my mind sort of manufactured over the years what Enter the Dragon must be like, having never seen it. And I must say, I was a little underwhelmed at the production that I saw.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
It's a little rough around the edges.
Grindhouse with a capital G.
That's one of the things. I mean, first of all, it's elemental, and so many other things were influenced by it. You can totally feel that in every moment of it.
Right.
But I think one of the advantages that the low budget confers is that there's like no sets. Everything's a location.
Yeah.
And the locations are fucking cool.
Yeah.
Also, can we take a moment to talk about how absolutely fucking ripped everyone in this movie is?
Oh my god!
Like,
yes.
Everyone in this movie is made out of wrapped wire around a skeleton.
No,
like
he was like the biggest Chinese guy I've ever seen in my life.
Bruce Lee literally looks like he's made of Twizzlers.
He's carved out of wood.
He's carved out of teak. He actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do? I think he did that backflip, or do you think that was a stuntman doing that?
He absolutely did that.
Oh my god!
He absolutely did that.
Yeah.
He did. I'm pretty sure he did everything in this.
He choreographed all the fights.
Well, he choreographed the fight.
Yeah.
Says that he did.
The screenplays apparently literally just said fight scene to be choreographed by Bruce Lee, and that was it.
Right, and he's going there.
I like one of the things I like about what's behind Scott is they have to cut him up.
His basement.
Sorry, not Scott. Chris.
Thank you.
The thing I like about what's behind Chris is that they have to cut him up to make him seem vulnerable.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can make him seem vulnerable in this movie is by cutting him up. Because holy fucking shit, look at him. Like
you would think bullets bounce off this guy. It's
right.
I do want to mention that this is the second preposterous Hall of Mirrors fight we've seen in just a few short weeks.
I know. This is the second one.
Only slightly less
I forgot. Oh my god, they did this with Zardoz.
The way he keeps ripped off from Shanghai Lady.
The same year. 73. Okay, 73, 74, but almost the same year.
Right, a year apart.
However, he does the thing that you should do in a Hall of Mirrors fight: break the fucking mirrors.
Start breaking mirrors.
Yeah. That's just the way that Han would pop out and hit him, and then immediately he'd lose sight of him again. It's like, where the fuck did he go? He was standing right there.
Which is when he starts breaking the mirrors.
Yeah. You tell the director got to stretch out a bit and do some really kind of like impressionistic stuff.
I thought that was the best scene in the movie.
That was kind of beautiful looking stuff. It was just
it was cool.
There was some great stuff across like multiple mirrors where
it
almost seemed like a cubist painting.
Because the rest of this movie is shot with the
Bruce Lee descending a staircase.
Porno.
Pretty much. Although one thing with this viewing, watching it again.
Hold on, I want to. What did you say, Chris?
I said, by and large, like, so I'll just say it like. I found this clip because I lived in LA. I lived in Laurel Canyon, North Hollywood, when this movie came out. And I very vividly remember when it came out because it was like overnight, everybody had a Bruce Lee poster in their house. Like a post.
I mean, there was a song.
And like John, I also had to sort of imagine what this movie was really like because all I could hear was, the couple of friends that convinced their parents to go take them. And of course, mine refused for forever. But I caught it years later on cable, and between that, the Mad Magazine, like between what I had heard, between the Mad Magazine parody, and then finally seeing it for real life. But I think this is one of those instances where right place, right time, because the acting is by and large fucking terrible.
Yes. It is.
The camera work is by and large borderline grindhouse. I think it's like the music and the sort of lurid aspect to a great deal of it is very 70s porno flick.
There are some great tits in it.
We'll come back to this later.
It also,
there are some great tits in this.
Right place, right time, and Bruce Lee is just fucking cool.
He is magnetic,
and that's why I think people responded to it the way that they did. Because as a movie, you know, you look at it now with, you know, all the it's got its moments, but it's not very well made. It's like very cheap looking, but it didn't matter.
Right.
Because Bruce Lee is freaking cool.
I don't see.
Nobody's ever seen anything like that.
That's the thing, is I don't see any of the cheapness in this movie, because all I can look at is the actors and the fighting. And like the actors and the fighting in this movie are so fucking good at doing that shit. And it's just like, I don't give a shit that like he's
bad
not great.
Zooms.
No,
that was the style of that.
Yeah, that's
the style of the 70s.
Yeah, like to me, that feels like the 70s. That
absolutely
very much. This is a movie of its time.
Yeah,
so Tarantino, when Tarantino wants to signal that he's doing an homage to the 70s,
yeah. But there's a bit when they get on Hans Island and you're pulling back and see these guys in the courtyard going
yeah,
more and more and more and more of them. That was impressive.
So many extras in this movie.
Yes.
So many
huge
extras.
List.
Yeah, exactly. But,
no, and then it just expands and expands and expands and expands. And then at the end, when he lets the guys out of, or she lets the guys out of the jail, and then everyone's just fighting in the courtyard.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's fucking 20,000 people on this screen. Like, I don't know. It's just like
every extra in Hong Kong got a job working on this film.
It's so funny because I know this movie kind of takes its cues, I think, from Dr. No and a little bit of like, I don't know, You Only Live Twice or something. And then this movie comes out, and a year later, James Bond does Man with the Golden Gun, which rips off huge chunks from this movie.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Was Man with the Golden Gun
the hidden
homage,
Kung Fu Academy?
Yeah. Let me roll back to what Chris said. It's like, it turns out you won't be able to see this as a kid. My stepdad, of course, was a black belt in karate, so he lived in San Bruno. We go visit him on the weekends from Santa Cruz, and he like grabbed me by the collar and says, "We're gonna go see the Dragon," and we go like over to the, I think it was the Warfield. I saw it twice.
Oh, when the Warfield was still showing movies.
I know. I saw it twice at the Warfield and once at the Pagoda a couple of months later when it got moved out.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So I saw it filmed 3 times, and I was like, 12.
And you're how old?
Wow.
I was 12.
That's a lot of boobs for a 12-year-old.
Actually, no, 11.
12, maybe.
It
11?
It's a medium amount of boobs for a 12-year-old.
He says, watch this movie with the nunchucks. Like, that's what he was there for, man.
I love that this film was not released uncut in England until 2004 because of the fucking nunchucks. Because for some reason, because England had a thing about nunchucks for years and years and years and years and years.
I have a question. What was the film rated when it was out in theaters?
R.
Okay.
R.
That's what I figured.
Solid R. Also, one thing about watching this film on this screening was how much the music did for it.
Oh man!
This is Lalo Schifrin. This is Cool Hand Luke. This is
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Mannix.
Was it maybe the first Dirty Harry?
First Dirty Harry and some other huge film from that.
Bullet.
He did Bullet. So the thing is, it propelled the film so well, even though it's doing like Orientalism in it. It just was so much fun because the opening bit alone was enough to set you up for the film. Just listening to it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? So you're ready for something. It was beautifully done.
It does a lot of the work in keeping the energy up on the movie.
Also kind of westernizing it a little bit.
Well, it's sort of Shaft Orientalism. You know what I mean?
Shaft Orientalism. That's a great.
Well, I mean, they have a black man with a large afro in this too, like
who's also a really good fighter.
He's a good fighter
actor though.
But he's a reasonable character.
Yeah.
He's a reasonable character. Like the character himself is interesting in a way. Like you're drawn to him when you're watching it. And when he dies, you feel it.
That's a rough one.
It's a significant moment in the movie when and then when you see him go into the water and it becomes a test. You know,
yeah.
It's impressive that it works so well.
I also like that he has that whole scene. I guess it's in New York, or it's supposed to be
Los Angeles, actually.
Is it LA? Yeah.
LA.
I figured they couldn't afford to shoot in Los Angeles.
What's the scene, Jim? What's the scene?
The scene is they're like on a basketball court, but they're doing the same thing that they do in China there with the
they have like an Afro-American Kung Fu Academy going there.
Right. And they're like,
and like the black
going back to the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, it was kind of, I watched it now, I felt kind of hopeless. Like, it's always been rough, you know, for blacks in this country. And these guys getting the same hassle they're getting now. Nothing. How many years is this?
Right.
It's like nothing is changing. It's like, it's just awful, you know.
48. No, 48.
I have another question, which is, it's really more of a comment than a question. The other actor,
John Saxon.
John Saxon. Yeah, I mean, he's in tons of movies, but this one he had a big role. And I noticed they shot his first fight with a lot of close-ups, and I thought, oh, he can't fight. That's why they're shooting it way different. And then later he fucking is kicking ass.
No, he was a green belt. That's why they hired him. He wasn't a black belt, but he was a green belt. He was good, but not great.
That's what I wanted to know, because he obviously knew how to fight.
The funniest thing I read was that he thought, up until the point that he saw the movie, apparently, that he'd been cast to be the star and was the star. Because he
That's a good director. You make everybody seem like
he wasn't around to see a lot of Bruce Lee's scenes.
Okay. I was like, I'm sorry. Did you see who else is in this?
No, he had.
That's hilarious.
Watch daily
until the movie was over that he was the star.
Well, he gets second billing when the big Bruce Lee comes
Their
up.
Their names are both above the.
Yeah, they're doing that. They're doing that staggered thing.
Yeah, well, Bruce Lee's first because he's on the left.
Yeah.
And then it's John Saxon.
I have to look at it, but I think it's staggered. But yeah, you're right. And you know, you need to get an American name on there that's recognizable. And John Saxon was one of them. You know.
Yeah.
But he did all right by that. So you know, it is.
Well, but also I feel like this movie does do a little bit of the Brotherhood of the Wolf thing, where it tries to hide how good some of these people are for part of the movie. Like it obviously doesn't work with Bruce Lee, because anything he does looks like he's immediately the biggest badass in the area. But like, no, filming Saxton up close and you don't know what he's actually doing, and then when you see him fighting, it's like, oh, that's pretty fucking impressive, you know. Like it does do that somewhat effectively. Not all the way effectively, but like, again, for a 90-minute movie that's basically child exploitation, like I think it does a pretty good job of that.
Also, he's like the only actor in this with real American acting chops, you know, in terms of Hollywood. So he got a lot of close-ups, got a lot of like funny lines. And maybe him and the woman who played the Procurer, I can't remember the name of the character, but
Tiana.
Yeah, thank you. They say they're the only really good actors in the whole movie. You know,
man, that scene where she's walking on his back is fucking weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty odd. But you know, he's doing it, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
She's got the shirt that's just barely covering the tits there, and she's standing on his back, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's pretty retrogressive. It's like, I'll take you and you and you and you and you. This is with Williams. That was great.
Yeah. That was an interesting moment where you just culturally you'd see, like, you would never see anything like that with the heroes of the movie indulging in that.
Yeah.
Now.
It was odd, wasn't it?
Yes, it was odd.
Yeah.
You might
very 70s, you know?
Very 70s.
I think you might, but you would see it in a way that was framed as being negative, whereas it's actually framed as being neutral in this. Like, everyone does it, so it doesn't matter if you did or not.
Right.
I mean, the parading of the pick one, here's the ladies, you pick one, the one you like.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes. So we will indulge in the hookers now. What, Jim?
It's basic hospitality.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing.
It would have been rude to turn them down.
Yes.
So we'll have sex
and
with
it
the
also
hookers
gets
now.
it also gets Mei Lee to Bruce Lee's room so they can have their conversations about what's going on.
Right.
Which
So,
turns into one of the funniest scenes in Fistful of Yen with the microphones in the bedroom. But I'm getting ahead of us. Yeah.
I will say I laughed a great deal at this movie, with it, of course, not at it. Maybe
the first American produced martial arts spectacular with the legendary Bruce Lee.
That's it. And it did really well. So it's like, man, it's just a question.
Return on investment was like epic, record breaking, right?
That's a British two screen. A 2 sheet. See, it's got the X at the end.
Yeah.
It was adults only in Britain.
Oh yeah.
So
the fighting, the choreography of the fight scenes is great because Bruce Lee's doing it. And you never get tired watching it throughout the film, even though there's just endless numbers of fights.
Yes,
and he takes out so many guys.
I could take several more fights in this movie.
Right.
Like,
but the thing that impressed me more was how fucking fast he was.
Oh, he was fast.
There's a scene where he's just sparring and he keeps like hitting the guy where you barely see his arm move.
His hand move.
It's just like pop, and the guy got hit. Pop, the guy got hit, and it's
when he's fighting the dummy, when he's just doing the inside with the dummy, it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I've done boxing. I don't understand how you move your hands like that.
Yeah,
like,
it's supernatural.
Like the wings of a hummingbird.
And man, the fact he died, I think 2 weeks before this film,
like a butterfly.
that sucks.
The bummer for me watching this is because I've seen Game of Death fairly recently. Is like it would have been nice if he could have like capitalized on the success of this movie and made a truly great movie with like a really good director,
bigger budget,
come over to the United States and make a proper one. Yeah,
it's never happened.
Could have broken Chuck Norris's leg again.
Not that movie.
Hey, that was a good film. So that was
Death?
Chuck Norris. Yeah, no, I want Chuck Norris. The Chinese Connection. I can't remember what it is.
Don't watch Game of Death again.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will. That's the one. That's the one he didn't finish.
The one where he's dead for most of the movie, and they keep like having to try to fake this.
Oh no! There's a bit where there's
Plan 9.
They literally have a freeze frame of his face over the crow. And my stepfather almost dragged us out of the theater. He was so pissed.
It's not
so it was like it didn't work.
It's got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the end. Everybody remembers that.
Very memorable.
Which, by the way, I will say in the Netflix Cowboy Bebop, their remake of that
I saw that bit
from the remake of it in the original is fucking great.
Okay,
like you can
absolutely right.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell that John Cho studied a lot of Bruce Lee for that, in the same way that the original animators studied a lot of Bruce Lee for the anime. But yeah, that's so good.
So well, thematically I thought it was a pretty good film, and it seemed like everybody got something out of it. So I guess we can go to thumbs at this point.
It's